All right. So this is going to be participatory. So if you can hang out and talk to me, that'd be great. So let's start with this concept. So I'm going to start the training topic, but discipline equals freedom. This is probably, maybe it's a new concept for you, maybe it's not, depending on how long you've been here, or what things you've been through in the past. But I want to talk about motivation first. So I think motivation is a key and critical part of the conversation for discipline equals freedom. What does it mean to motivate somebody? When we think of motivation, what do we think of? Who comes to mind as a motivator? Don't be shy. Come on. You all think of somebody.
Jocko Willink.
Great. Then, by the way, he wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom, so he's a great one to bring up here, right? So when he talks about motivation, how does he motivate? It's iconic because he talks about it one way and does it sort of that way. But what does he talk about for motivation? Anybody know? Anybody read Jocko?
Yeah, but not that book. I read Extreme
Ownership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was awesome with Leif Babin. And
Yeah,
their
so
leadership was a little bit different, but all of his leadership is almost like he's leading a pack of soldiers through a war zone, even if he's talking to executive level management. Doesn't matter. He's got a very clear and concise methodology of how he teaches leadership, but I want to listen to what he said specifically because I have not heard it.
So let's talk about that for a second. So I'm Jocko. I'm leading a SEAL team into battle. I want to motivate this team. How do we do that?
I imagine there's a lot of shouting and F words in there for Jocko, but it's gonna be very passionate, and he's gonna truly believe what he's commanding his soldiers to do in a very colorful way, but he's doing it with the best of intentions. So I hate to try to reenact that with Jocko.
No, yeah, that's perfect. So, and by the way, so he specifically talks about this in the book and different things. He said that thing that you just talked about, right? The football coach pregame motivational speech, right? And by the way, when you watch Jocko or listen to him or watch the videos, that's essentially who he is and what he does. And then he says, that's kind of bullshit. That's actually not motivation, right? You think it's motivation if you're trying to get motivated before the game starts, and that's where your motivation starts, you've already lost. What's the root word of motivation? What's the root word in motive? Sorry, I just blew that. The root word for motivation is motive. Okay. What does it mean to have a motive?
An intent, a goal, or I'm looking for another word and it's slipping my mind, but to have intention or a goal or a purpose behind doing
a reason. Yeah, an intention, a reason, right? So if we say to if we get line up SEAL Team 6 and they haven't had their reason or their motive in mind all along, and we say, okay, guys, you're going into battle right now, and we got to go take out the bad guy, and that's all they know. That's probably not a situation set up for great motivation. How do you motivate that team? Well, we talk about, first of all, we want to start about what their overall mission is, why you become a Navy SEAL to begin with. What's your reasoning there, right? It's protect this country, freedom, protecting your communities, different things like that. All the things that go into somebody choosing a career in the military. By the way, I'm definitely not the right person to be talking about those things and why that happens. At the same time, I can imagine those things go very deep. Right? When I think about Pat Tillman, right? Giving up his NFL career, joining the military after 9/11 to go make a difference, right? The motive there, the motivation was super clear, right? It goes bigger than this moment. So if you want to motivate that team, that SEAL team going into that mission, they should know who that bad guy is, why taking out this bad guy is important, what it's going to do for the world, for the battle, for the war, for their fellow soldiers, their teammates, all the different things, the meaning of why they're doing it and the reasons, right? Cause people to go the extra mile. And then not just on game day, because most people have no problem getting motivated for game day, right? The motivation, the reason, your motive needs to be present in all the preparation that goes into game day. Because it's not when the lights are turned on, it's time to go get the bad guy, if we want to use the Jocko analogy for it, right? everybody's motivated in that moment. Nobody wants to get hurt. No one wants their team to get hurt. Everybody wants to get the bad guy, right? But was that motivation there when you got up at 4:30 in the morning and did your ice baths and you did the extra work and you ran the extra mile and you hit the weights and you watched the film of the last battle and you prepared for it and you visualized it and you did all the reps with your team and you went into all the battle simulations and you did all of those things the extra mile harder every single time because your reason, your motive was so clear all the time that you were always willing to do the extra thing. And so while we can say to people, hey, I'm going to yell and scream and shout and say curse words and get people fired up for each one of those things along the way, that actually is very token motivation. It wears off very quickly. It doesn't push people to go to the extra mile, right? If you have to choose, make the choice to do the hard, right thing every time, you will fail because as humans, we don't have those same abilities to do that every single time. You're never going to make the right choice 100, 200 times a day. So we have to have discipline around our process, and that discipline equals freedom. So when we talk about, so first of all, motivation is about our reason, which is why we spend so much time on objectives and key results, right? What is your why? Why are you doing this? And sometimes your motive can just be, I want to be the best. And for certain people, that's enough. For other people, it might be something bigger. We talked to Katie Sigter about this, and she was like, hey, I want to take my kids to Disney World. That was a real thing for her. That was a motive. It was really, it enabled her to do the work when no one else was watching, right? When the lights are on, everybody's motivated, right? One of the reasons we were doing the power hours together is because if you go on the power hour and everybody's watching you, you're going to make more phone calls. You're going to make more dials. You're more motivated. There's peer pressure in it, right? The lights are on. But what do you do when the lights aren't on? What do you do before the sun comes up to prepare for your day? You'll only do those things if you know what you're fighting for. You have something bigger. Now, here's the thing. How many people in here want to do something great with their careers and their lives? So we often think that we talk about the wanting, willing gap. Everybody wants to be successful. Are you willing to do what it takes to get there? Right? And the first thing we need to do is we need to have disciplined processes to see. So if I make it very clear to you, this is what it takes to get from point A to point B. And then we create the space for you to try those different things and measure it. It becomes very clear. Are you willing to do those things? Where we sell ourselves short every day is with the excuses we make for what we fill our time and energy up with so that we never get to the things that we want to do to get to where we want to go. And so then we leave ourselves always feeling like we're failing. And this is where having the discipline or not having the discipline, how many people yesterday failed to do some of the things that they intended to do? Anybody here that happens to them? This happens to us all the time. And that zaps our freedom. So sometimes we think of freedom, we think of, hey, that means I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, right? And by the way, it's not that to me is not realistic. That's not how it works. Where freedom really comes from is that when you're disciplined in the time you have that's yours, you have true freedom, guilt-free freedom to spend that time and energy doing whatever you want to do. Because everybody finds the time to watch their favorite Netflix show. Some of us do it with a lot of guilt and a lot of feelings of like afterwards that we should spend that time doing something else. We didn't get the other things that we wanted to do. We didn't do the things that would have furthered us to where we want to go. But if you have discipline on your tasks during the day, you can watch that show and have the freedom to enjoy it because you know you've already accomplished the things for the day that you set out to accomplish. Right? So here's the trouble with this. Most people choose to be loan officers because they want freedom and hate discipline. Right? We have this uncomfortable relationship with discipline because it feels like something we have to do as opposed to something we want to do. Is that a familiar feeling for people? So does anybody here have any tricks or anything they've done that they're willing to share to experience? How do you make yourself want the discipline? What's the shortcut for you on wanting to be disciplined? Does anybody here have anything they do every day because they know they should be doing it even though they don't like it? Give me an example. I have a bunch of fucking things. I don't know how you, maybe I have more discipline. I have a bunch of things I do every day that I wish I didn't have to do to get to where I want to go. But where I want to go, my motive is very present for me. So I do them anyway. What are yours?
I make sure that I get to the Y and swim 5 to 6 days a week.
Why? What's your motive, Alan?
Losing weight, being here for my kids, living a better life.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, this is a great example. What percentage of people who have a heart attack and survive meaningfully change their habits and routines after that heart attack to avoid having another one? Anybody have any idea?
I'd say it's probably low.
Yeah, it's low.
Less than 50%.
It's less than 10%.
Oh,
We are so bad at this game as humans. It is so hard to create new habits that we're like, hey, you think if I had a real wake-up call, I would change everything. The data says that people don't. They don't. Most people don't. So you might be like, wow, Alan, you want to lose weight. Of course you're going to go to the gym. Most people don't. Most people don't change the stuff. It's a huge win every day to have that discipline to go. Alan, are you excited to go swim every day?
Some days I'm really excited, and some days, I have to force myself to go in, but it takes the discipline to go in, and once I'm done, I feel way better that I did it.
Have you ever had any days where you're supposed to go and you didn't go?
When I hurt my knee, I quit halfway through my swim. It was the first time in 3 years that I've quit.
How'd that feel?
I was mad. I had to take a week off, and it pissed me off.
3 years though, man, going every day without injury. That's real discipline. Anybody else have anything here they do every day that they don't want to do? If you don't have things like that and you're wondering why maybe you're not hitting your goals, that's the whole answer. You got to have a bunch of shit that you do every day, not because you want to, but because you know it's going to get you to where you want to go. And if you don't have that, you're what I call floating.
If you don't mind me showing, I'm actually wearing it today. A byproduct of me doing it, I was trying to lose weight, but top 10 in my Y, and I'm a 400-pound guy.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. You're motivated. You can sense the motivation. I can see it in your Facebook posts, man. It's all real. You got a real goal and you're doing it. Nobody else has anything on this call they're willing to share that they do every day as a habit. That's something they don't really want to do.
Studying. I put it in the chat, but I kind of have a motive for that, right?
Yeah.
So I have to study cybersecurity stuff as often as I can to stay fresh because it's a lot to learn.
Dude, I study every day to do this job. I put time in my calendar every day. I read, listen to podcasts. I do stuff every day to further myself. And I'm not always excited to do it. I don't really like reading. I like learning. I like getting better. I like the feeling it gives me to come to these trainings with things to offer. Right? Spent 2 hours this morning preparing for this. What else? Nobody. I'm going to stay on this because you gotta pick some stuff, guys.
cold calls to realtors.
Who does that every day and doesn't want to do it?
I wish I said that I did it every day, but I need to.
So yeah, I just started brand new prospecting. I'm spending 1 hour every day calling loan officers I don't know. I'm never excited to do it. I like working with loan officers. I like calling people who want to talk to me. I don't like cold calling, but I have big goals. I want to get to 50,000 loans a year. I want to be part of a special leadership team and a special mortgage company that does special things. It's easy for me to do that hour every day, knowing where I want to go and what I want to get to. Right? And so that's why you have to have a clearly defined why as to where you're going and what you're doing, or get comfortable where you are. But don't expect anything to change if you aren't willing to do the things that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go, because everybody wants to be successful. Are you willing to pay the price? I encourage you all to find one thing right now that you know would change your life for the better that you're not doing, and commit to doing it even though you don't want to do it. That is the start of becoming a disciplined person. And that is the start of becoming a person worthy of achieving the things that you want to achieve. There is no achievement without some sacrifice. And by the way, I believe the greatest satisfaction in life, the greatest meaning in life, comes from the work you put in to achieve something of significance. Whether that, Alan, would you say that you feel, forget how your body feels and everything else losing the weight, but do you feel better about your quality of life because you're on this journey and doing this stuff every day?
Absolutely. My motivator was David Goggins. I read his book, Can't Hurt Me. And sometimes you have to listen to it with a little grain of salt, because that's how I hurt my knee. I went too hard. But every time I would want to quit, I would just think about things, because they say your mind quits about at 40% and you still got another 60%. And anytime I would start wanting to quit, I would just start thinking about things that motivate me, my wife, my son, my health, my business. When I first started this journey in mortgages 3 years ago, I could barely stand up for 5 minutes because of my back. And now I can stand up all day, 4 hours in an open house, go do whatever I need to do now because of my swimming.
It's awesome. We got to do the stuff we don't want to do, and we got to do it every day. And so that discipline creates the freedom, right? The freedom to stand up at the open house, as simple as that sounds, comes from the discipline that you put in along the way. The freedom to go on vacation where you want to go on vacation, take your kid, have a better life for your children, retire when you want to retire. All of the things that come with freedom come from discipline. By the way, discipline can come from how we spend money. I know some loan officers here that have made a ton of money over the last couple of years that have a ton of financial pressure because of the way they spend it. Right? Discipline comes from many different ways. Hey, you know how you have financial freedom? Spend less than you make, regardless of what you make. But a lot of us lack the discipline to make those choices. And now, where does discipline come from? It comes from new habit creation. So the first thing is a choice. I'm willing to do this thing I don't want to do to get this thing that I do want. Second thing is I want to do that every day, and it becomes easier. Alan, is it easier today to convince yourself to go to the Y than it was in the first week?
Absolutely. I don't miss it.
Well, what happened? Is now it feels weird if you don't go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we create this, we become the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. If Alan's identity is now attached to being the person who goes to the Y every day to get that in there, then he will do everything it takes to make sure that happens. Conversely, if we're okay and we're comfortable being the person every day who doesn't do the stuff that we need to do to get to where we say we want to go, right? Then that becomes our identity, and we become comfortable with wherever we are. All of us are exactly where we're supposed to be based on the effort and the activities that we put into it. And so what are we willing to do and what are we not willing to do? And so I encourage, I find it quite frankly a little bit stunning that we don't have other disciplines on this call for people doing things they don't want to do. I get up at 4:45 every day to get a lift in. I don't want to do that. I play tennis after I've dropped my kids off at the bus. I love that. It's also part of my fitness, but I would play even if it didn't work. That's my reward for waking up super early and hitting the gym. I don't like it. I do it because I think it's important for my overall health. I think it's important for my overall ability to achieve my financial goals. Because I think if I'm not in shape and I eat whatever I want, it's going to be harder for me to be the leader that I want to be and for attract the people I want to attract to work with. I believe that how I look and present myself to the world matters for the role that I have. right? So I take the extra steps to do the things I don't want to do. I have that discipline. Now, I went on vacation last week and I brought my workout clothes, but I didn't work out. I didn't have the habits formed around it. And every day when I went to make the choice to go lift without a real plan and a real commitment, I chose not to. And I was mad at myself the whole trip. I didn't enjoy some things I would have enjoyed. I would have had so much more enjoyment of that trip if I would have committed myself to finding a way to do that thing. But it's very hard to make good choices. So you have to have good habits. So how many of us have some bad habits? How many of us at the end of the day open a drink, have a beer? How many of us every time we walk into the kitchen open the refrigerator even when we're not hungry? Right? We have all these habits that lead to bad outcomes. You have to change them one at a time. But the only way you can do that is to, one, have the skills to be disciplined. And I believe that being disciplined and creating new habits is a skill that you can learn. And by the way, Jocko has a book all about this. You can read it. It's called Freedom, Discipline Equals Freedom. By the way, this is a term that we started saying here at Princeton before Jocko wrote the book. We didn't invent it. It was already out there. He didn't invent it. But it's an amazing book. Right? So have the skills to do it, but also we have to know what the motive is. Your desire for where you want to go has to be stronger than your desire to stay comfortable right now. You know, you've heard people say things that seems a little bit silly, like, oh, I put a picture of a fit person on my refrigerator to remind myself when I go in there that I should be making a good food choice, right? Or for me, I used to want to work out at night. I don't get my best workout in the morning. Like even when I'm on the bench press, like I can bench press like 25, 30% more if I work out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon than if I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to work out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll make a million excuses in my day. I'm certainly not going to work out at 7 o'clock at night. I'll find anything to do at that point not to do it. So I got to do it first thing in the morning because it was important to me to be the person I want to be. While I work out, I listen to things for work so I can continue to learn and get better in my career and deliver more value to you guys and become the person worthy of building an exceptional mortgage company. Anybody here have anything else they do every day from a discipline perspective that they don't want to do to get to where they want to go? All right, we're going to do this thing. How many people, you can opt out, but I want to by a show of hands. How many of you guys are willing to pick a thing between this week and next week when we get here on this Wednesday call? Say, hey, I'm going to create a new habit in my life, a new discipline. I'm going to commit to doing a thing every day that I don't necessarily like doing, that I think is going to change my life for the better and help me get to where I want to go. I'm willing to do it. I'm going to find something. We're going to come to this training next week on Wednesday, and we're going to share what our thing is. Right? And here are the rules. One is we need to know, what is our why? What's the reason we're doing it? 2, it has to be something that we're doing daily. And it can be as simple as brushing your teeth if you're not a teeth brusher. I don't care what it is. It could be something super simple. One thing that you don't currently do every day, you might do it sometimes, but you don't do it every day. And you're going to commit to building the habit to do it every day, whether you like it or not. That's going to help you get to where you want to go, something in your life. And it doesn't be work related at all. I would love it if it's work related. I would love it if it's financial. Maybe it's stopping doing something, starting doing something. Maybe every day you're ordering Uber Eats. And maybe you're going to commit to cooking your food for dinner instead of ordering Uber Eats every day. You're going to give it up. What is a thing that you're doing in your life that is affecting your quality of life or preventing you from getting to where you want to go or getting to where your goals are? And we're going to make the commitments. I'll tell you, you guys saw the email from Rich. We're committed to building a high-producing sales team, right? The people on this call, you guys are all either going to be capable of doing 2, 3+ loans a month every month, or eventually you're not going to be here. In order to be part of this group, we're going to have to build the muscles to do things that we don't want to do to get to where we want to go. And I'm excited about this. It's going to push me to do some stuff as well, right? So this is an invitation. Think about it, right? Is it personal health? Is it fitness? Is it how you spend your money? Is it how you make your money? Is it prospecting to realtors? Is it, what is this thing that you should be doing every day or shouldn't be doing every day that's preventing you from becoming the person that you want to be, from getting the results that you want? And then here's what's crazy. We're going to focus on that one thing for 3 weeks. And then we're going to do it again. And we're going to keep doing the first thing, and we're going to add another thing. Because after 3 weeks, it will become automatic. It will become part of who you are, right? The secret that will be, when you go on vacation, do you get back into that habit when you come back? What happens when your routine gets broken up? But we're going to add new habits, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do it together. You don't have to do it. But here's the deal. Next week, this is what we're going to focus on. This week is what we're going to focus on. I'm going to give you guys some time back today to even think about what it is that you want to commit to. But we're going to make that commitment as a group to each other next week. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to come, and you don't have to do it. But you have to ask yourself, what are you so afraid of? If you're not willing to change and do one thing every day that you're currently not doing, that you know will help you become the best version of yourself. And by the way, congratulations to you if you don't have anything. If you're already exactly where you want to be and everything is great, well, then you don't need to come to training either. I got 1,000 things I can think of. I'm not even close to where I want to be on any of this stuff. The question for me is which one to choose. Right? Anybody here want to comment on this or have any ideas, anything they want to share? Anybody here automatically know what theirs is going to be?
Oh, yeah.
Share it?
Mine's going to be realtor prospecting. I've been kind of
What are you
spoiled.
committing to? What are you going to commit to every day? How long? What are we going to do? How many calls? How many conversations? How are you going to measure it?
That's a good thing to think about. I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah. By the way, so what does it mean to realtor prospect? And how do you define yourself? And how do you create rules for yourself to not cheat yourself? When I've done this, it has launched me in my career. When I was in the call center starting out as a loan officer and I didn't know how good I was going to be, I made the simple commitment that I was going to call every lead 5 times a day for 5 days when it came in, no matter what. Some days I'd stay till 8 o'clock at night, and some days I'd be done by 4, but I would literally sit there and I'd pray as I dialed. The person wouldn't answer the phone. And then when they answered, well, listen, it's always easy to be on for game day. When the lights are on, I'm certainly going to do my best job and try to sell a loan, right? But the act of saying, I'm going to make these dials no matter what, changed how I approached everything else. And by making those dials, I instantly went from a good loan officer to far and away number 1. By creating a rule for myself I couldn't cheat myself on. What's the rule for yourself that you will prevent you from cheating yourself, where you actually get there? If I was going to prospect for an hour a day to realtors, you know what you end up doing? You end up calling the same 3 realtors over and over. You always answer the phone. You call the easy ones. You call the ones you know you're going to talk to. You got to find a way to create a rule for yourself that makes it harder. I'm going to have one real conversation every day with a realtor I've never spoken to before, and I will make as many fucking phone calls as it takes until I get one on the phone and we have a real 3 to 5 minute forward conversation. No matter what, every day I will find one. That is a disciplined commitment. And you will get good at figuring out how to get realtors to pick up the phone. You will get good at figuring out how to have those phone calls. You will get really good at winning people over on the first 15 seconds of the phone call, because you don't want to make any more dials. I got to get this done. I got to move on with my day. I don't want to call for 3 hours. So I'm going to win this phone call this time. And all of a sudden, that rule you create for yourself creates an entire new skill set around the discipline of avoiding the pain of having to dial over and over again. I got to win this one over. She answered. I got to win because I don't want to have to call anymore. I got other stuff to do today. And I'm not going to the gym or going to or going out with my friends or grabbing that drink until I have that 3-minute conversation. You'll get real creative how to keep that person on the phone. Right? What is the discipline? What is the habit that we're going to create that's going to change our lives? One thing a day that you don't currently want to do. And by the way, if you're not doing it already, it's because you don't want to do it. Everybody take this time. We're going to give you this 15 minutes back. If you have questions in the meantime, if you want to know how to think about it, whatever it is, reach out to myself, to Dave, whatever it is. But again, it should be, don't make it vague. Lock yourself into the uncomfortableness. So, Will, if I was going to do that, forget 1 hour. I can waste an hour, no problem. One conversation a day with a realtor I've never spoken to before for at least 3 minutes. And if I can get it done in the first 4 minutes of my dialing, cool, I get my 56 minutes back. Because I guarantee you, if you talk to 250 realtors this year you've never talked to before for 3 minutes, you'll have loans falling from the sky. Everything else will take care of itself if you talk to 250 realtors you never talked to this year for 3 minutes. You can't screw that one up. That's a life changer. Now, give me an hour to dial in prospect. I can find a way to waste that time, right? How do you dial it in so you can't cheat? How do you dial it in so that you're not committed to an hour no matter what? That if you get really good at this game, you can spend 5 minutes on your hour-long activity. Give yourself that time back. That's why I love my rules about dialing. I'd be trying to get it done by 2 o'clock. I want to go home. That's how you get motivated for yourself, right? It's not about the time you put in. It's about what is the output of the work you're trying to get to. Pick a thing. Make yourself uncomfortable, all right? So if you show up next Wednesday, I'm going to assume that you're ready to log on and share with everybody what your thing is. And we're going to go from there. And I'll have my thing as well. And then we're going to help cheer each other on to become better versions of ourselves because we are all capable of so much more. You are capable of becoming the person worthy of accomplishing your goals, no matter how big your goals are. But it starts with this disciplined approach. It starts with one new habit. We're going to do it together. All right. I appreciate everybody's time. Please rate the training, give feedback. Thank you all for spending this time with us this morning. We're having a really good sales week. Let's keep the loans coming in. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Wes's training. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So tune in for that. Thanks, everybody.